Good evening, YouTube subscribers. Welcome to my live comedic improvisational show entitled Keep Laughing. And oh, by the way, happy Halloween. So I just thought of a scenario for tonight's improvisational comedy. So picture this, okay? You're going to apply for a job as a salesman at a downtown company called, let's see, what kind of a salesman? First of all, let's see, what kind of a salesman? Fertilizer salesman. Okay. So it's a fertilizer company and it's downtown next to the CNA building. It's a fertilizer company. Let's just call it Frank's Fertilizer Boutique. No, that's no. It's a fertilizer company that downtown is called Frank's. Do you have any ideas? Frank's Fertilizer something, whatever. So you want to be the regional manager. You're applying for the job because you have experience selling fertilizer. You used to sell fertilizer in um, in Bangor, Maine. I like the name Bangor, Maine, because Maine is where I would like to banger. So that's the meaning that I derive out of that place. It's like Bangor, Maine. That's okay. Anyways, so okay, so you used to be a fertilizer salesman in Bangor, Maine. Bangor, Maine. In Bangor, Maine. The name of the fertilizer company that you worked for was um, um, King's Fertilizer Fantasyland. King's Fertilizer Fantasyland. And your name is Stephen Kong. So your name is Stephen Kong. Stephen Kong. And you used to work in Bangor, Maine at a company called King's Fertilizer Forum. Not Forum. I'm trying to think of fertilizer what? What kind of a fertilizer establishment, what do we call this? Fertilizer I can't think of. I got all these good ideas, but I'm stuck on the name of the fucking company that you work for in Bangor, Maine. Your name is Stephen Kong, and you work for. Whatever. Let's just call it King's Fertilizer Shop. Frank's Fertilizer Shop, or whatever. Your name is Stephen Kong, King's Fertilizer Shop. Wait a minute. Okay. And so, anyways, so you walk through the doors. So let's say you walk up to the reception and say, "Okay, oh, good morning. I'm here to see Ulysses Chevalier. His name is Ulysses Chevalier. Um, I'm applying for. I'm applying for. I'm here. I'm here for my 10 a.m. appointment to see Ulysses, Mr. Chevalier, for um, my interview to be the next regional manager in charge of fertilizer distribution across America for King's Fertilizer Shop here in Bangor, Maine. Oh, I'll show you right. He's right down the hall. I'll show you. So here's a room right here. He's sitting at the. You see him? He's sitting at the. He's right at the. He's on the desk. What do you mean he's on the desk? Right there. Do you see him? No, he's. I don't see any person in here. On the desk. What? The plant? Yeah, it's a plant. Yeah, it's a plant. So what's your point? He's the vice president of King's Fertilizer Shop here in Bangor, Maine. Are you kidding? A plant is the vice president of King's Fertilizer Shop in Bangor, Maine. A plant. Yes, a plant. Are you fucking kidding me? No, I'm deadly serious. I'll see you later. Good luck. Okay, so, so I'm going to be interviewed by a plant, huh? So now imagine this. So now there's somebody in the back of the, like underneath the desk. There's like a guy underneath the desk with like a miniature tape recorder, and he has all these interview questions. He hits play on the tape recorder, and it's kind of like, oh no, this is better. So there's a guy in back of the, and there's a guy like kind of like hiding in back of the plant, and he's kind of like talking through the plant and trying to make it seem like the plant is talking. And so he's like, his head is in back of the plant, and he's like trying to talk through the plant. He's trying to make it look like the plant is actually talking to the guy interviewing for the fertilizer salesman. Yeah, I was like, so what kind of experience do you have? Wait a minute. What the fuck is going on? Oh, what do you mean? Well, do you really want me to go along with this? You want me to? You're gonna like try to pretend that you're a plant, and that the plant is actually talking to me. So you're gonna sit in back of this plant, and kind of like a ventriloquist. You're going to try to talk through the plant and make it look like the plant is talking and interviewing me for the job. Yeah, so exactly what I'm saying. This is no joke. I'm supposed to talk to a plant. I'm I'm talking to you. I'm not talking to a plant. You're like a ventriloquist. You're trying to make it seem like the plant is talking. It is talking. I'm not talking. What do you mean? No, I'm the plant. No, I see a person in back of the plant. I see a person trying to make the plant look like it's talking. You're just trying to make the plant look like it's talking. The plant's not talking. You're talking like a ventriloquist, making the plant sound like it's talking. No, you're like a ventriloquist making a plant sound like it's talking. What are you talking about? Okay, all of a sudden the guy, he looks in back of the plant and he sees that There's nobody in back of the plant. He thought he saw somebody back there, but there's actually nobody. But then now he's confused. He thought he saw a guy that was trying to make the plant look like it was talking in back of the plant. So he thought he saw a guy in back of the plant, and that he was trying like that a guy who was trying to make the plant look like it was talking. Okay, and now the plant, there's nobody in back of the plant. Now he's thinking like, what the fuck? The plant was talking. I thought it was talk. I thought it was talking to a guy who was making a plant look like it was talking, but it's actually the plant actually was talking. So how does a plant talk? I never talked to a plant before. Okay, I've never talked to a plant before. Um, Now I feel like what am I tripping on acid? How is this happening? How am I imagining this? Am I actually talking to a plant? Okay. Um, See, he thought he saw a guy in back of the plant. He thought he saw a guy in back of the plant that was making the plant look like it was talking, but it was actually there wasn't. So that must have been a figment of his imagination. Okay. So what's not what apparently doesn't seem to be a figment of his imagination is the plant talking. The plant actually apparently seems to be talking. So I was like, wait a minute, maybe the plant does talk. And now that he's talking to a plant, okay, I believe you. You're a plant that talks. Okay. So, all right, let's start the interview. Okay. Well, so now that you believe that I'm not just a plant with no sentience to it, that indeed I'm a plant that talks, I now let's start with your background. So I see it says here in your resume that you worked at um, Frank's Nursery in Bangor, Maine, and where the regional manager there was Stephen Kong. That's weird. Okay. So let me see. So why don't you describe a typical day working at Stephen Kong's nursery in Bangor, Maine? Okay. So by the way, you're a plant. I was wondering, do you have a name? Yeah. So what's a good name for a plant? Let me think. The plant's name is. I'm trying to think of a clever name for a plant. Um, Greeny, because plants are green. A lot of plants are green. It's called greeny. That's the best I can think of for right now. So let's go with greeny. Okay, so greeny. I typical day at Frank's nursery in Bangor, Maine was I would see Stephen King in the morning and Stephen Kong. Stephen Kong in the morning, by the way. Okay, so and I would say, okay, so um, and I would say, how many plants do I have to sell today to keep my job? And he would say, don't worry about it. Either they want the plants or they don't. If they don't want the fucking plants, too bad. They're missing out. Huh. That's a pretty nice attitude. Yeah. You know what? Don't worry. They're going to want the plants. Who wouldn't want to adorn their who wouldn't want their home, whether it be an apartment or a loft somewhere downtown, who wouldn't want their home festooned with beautiful plants? I can't disagree with that, Stephen. Okay, I can't disagree with that. So there's no sales quota that you have to meet in order to keep your job as a plant salesman here, or no, fertilizer salesman here in Bangor, Maine. Wait a minute, I thought we were talking about fertilizer. Do you want it to be a fertilizer salesman or a plant salesman? Um, what's more interesting? Maybe a plant salesman. So I'm talking I'm talking to a plant. I'm being interviewed by a plant for a job as a plant salesman. That's good. That's funny. I'm being interviewed by a plant for a job as a plant salesman. And I'm talking about my work history as a plant salesman in Bangor, Maine, where I used to work at Stephen Kong's plant nursery in Bangor, Maine. Okay, yeah, so I used to work at Stephen Kong's plant nursery in Bangor, Maine. And he was a pretty, Stephen Kong was, um, he had a pretty loose attitude about plant sales. It's like he just thought that people like plants so much that instead of giving him the hard sell to people, instead of like really, you know, schmoozing too much or, you know, instead of schmoozing too much or giving them some kind of like sales pitch that they're just not going to buy, people don't like to be pressured into things. I think only the weakest of people is going to give into pressure. So Stephen Kong's attitude about plant sales is that let them come to you. People love plants. They're going to buy your plants. Just show them the merchandise. Show them what you got. You got some beautiful plants there. Okay? Show them what you got. They're going to buy it eventually. I don't see why they wouldn't. So that was Stephen Kong's attitude about plant sales. And it worked out great. Greenie. So now I'm talking to Greenie again. Greenie is the regional sales manager at the getting back to, so if you're confused right now, Greenie is the regional sales manager at Frank's Nursery in downtown Chicago next to CNA. And Greenie is a plant. That's why his name is Greenie. And he's a plant who's interviewing me for a job to be a plant salesman. Okay. You follow me? Okay. So Greenie. So what do you think? And Greenie, I was like the top salesman at Stephen Kong's plant nursery in Bangor, Maine, and um, I used to pull in six figures, topping out at like 400,000 a year. And oh, you did? That's good. That's very good. Maybe we will hire you, and maybe we won't. Maybe we won't. How could you not hire me? Because you're crazy. You're talking to a plant. All of a sudden, the real regional sales manager walks in. What do you mean I'm talking to a plant? Yeah, you said Greenie. He came to life. It's a plant that he's a sentient plant, right? He can talk. He's Greenie. Are you losing your mind? We tricked you. Plants don't talk. Okay? You're talking to a plant? Yeah, I thought I was talking to a plant. Ned, there was a tape recorder under. There was a voice activated system under the plant that made it appear that the plant can talk. We were actually okay. What would this be? So I'm thinking out loud. So they tricked him into thinking that he was actually talking to a plant because they had like there was a microphone like in the plant, and they were like. So there was a little tiny little microphone in the plant, okay, and all these like people from Frank's nursery downtown in another office room, they had it like they're like on walkie talkies or something, and they were talking. There's like a radio controlled like voice activated thing that traveled from the walkie talkies into the plant. So through the microphone, the plant really did seem like it was talking to. I I never gave the guy the name. The guy that was going on an interview as a plant salesman. Which is Ned, right? So I know this doesn't have the most cohesion to it, this little story, but I'm thinking out loud. But I have it in my mind. It's organized in my mind, but it's like it's coming out in a little bit of a kind of rough draft, so to speak. But Ned, Ned, having gone into the to interview for the plant sale, he was tricked into thinking that he was actually talking to a sentient plant, and that the plant itself was it was a plant that was like the real regional sales manager at Frank's nurseries downtown, and that he was so the plant was interviewing him for a job as a plant salesman, but it was these people with a microphone in the plant, and they were talking to him through the plant. So he actually thought he was talking to a plant. It turns out, indeed, plants don't talk, and that, you know, but they tricked him into believing that the plant was talking to him. So, did they drive him crazy? So then that was kind of like the litmus test. So he's not getting the job as a plant salesman because he has shown that like he can be too easily driven crazy. They drove him crazy by making him think that he was talking to a plant who is the regional sales manager at Frank's Nurseries downtown in charge of selling plants. So that was kind of like the test. If they could drive him crazy, then he doesn't have the job. So he doesn't have the job. You know what? You know what? This is the craziest thing. I really thought that plant was talking. Okay, believe me, I was an excellent salesman at Frank's. No, no, what is it? Stephen Kong's nursery or whatever you call it in Bangor, Maine. I was a top salesman. I was told like I was raking in like 400K a year. Okay, and I was a top salesman there. How can't you hire me? Because you're crazy. You were talking to a plant. We tricked you into talking to a plant. Okay, talking to a plant. We can't hire you. You're crazy. Well, you can't hire me because I'm crazy. I I'm not crazy. I thought the plant was talking. Okay, I really thought the plant was talking. Don't you think even the sanest of people can be convinced that what is actually a plant with a microphone embedded in it is that talking to being can't even the sanest of people think that what is actually a plant with a microphone embedded in it that is speaking to him because the people in the other office are talking through the plant because the microphone actually is picking up the signals from the walkie-talkies in the other office. Can't even the sanest of people actually be tricked into thinking that it's actually a sentient plant that is talking? No. You have to be insane to think that. I disagree. Ned, you were talking to a plant. You were calling it greenie. You don't think that's crazy? No. I think anybody could be tricked into thinking that a plant that is actually just a plant with a microphone embedded in it that is like being talked to by other people is actually a sentient plant. And he starts calling it greenie. Ned, get the fuck out of here. You don't have the job. We think you're crazy. You're not getting hired. You were talking to a plant. I wasn't talking to just any plant. I thought this plant was a regional sales manager here at Frank's Nurseries. No, it's a plant. All of a sudden, now here's a new plot twist, okay? As it turns out, Ned was right. It is a sentient plant. It's a praying mantis. Not a praying mantis, what I'm talking. What do they call those plants that like the plant that actually okay, it's a sentient plant. So here's like the plot twist. So excellent plot twist. The people at Frank's nursery who were trying to their test was to see if they were going to hire Ned to be their plant salesman, he had to pass their test. And what's their test that they tried to make him pass? To see if his sanity can actually be maintained while they were trying to trick him into thinking that he was talking to a plant, that like a talking plant. So if he wasn't going to be tricked into talking to a plant, then he would have had the job. But they were able to trick him into talking to a plant that he thought was a sentient plant that he was talking to. And so he thought the plant's name was Greenie and that the plant was the sales manager at Frank's Nurseries. So now that he failed that test, he doesn't have the job. But here's the plot twist. The plant is a sentient plant that talks. And all of a sudden the plant starts shooting up. It starts growing. It starts like extending its roots in its arms. And it grabs the plant itself, grows into a giant tree that actually extends its arms and pulls and takes and traps all the people who tried to trick Ned. It traps them in its limbs, the limbs of the tree. So this plant, this would go a lot more fluently if I stopped and I wrote it out first. But I think I have a pretty good idea here. So the plant itself, actually, it really was a sentient plant, and it actually, um, all the people who tried to trick Ned into thinking that this plant, you know, it grows and it extends its limbs, and it all the people that tried to trick Ned, actually, it takes them in its limbs and it throws them out the window, and they land out in the street right next to Buckingham Fountain, and the people who didn't try to trick Frank at Frank's nursery, they hire him as the president of Frank's nursery.